many of his comrades in the Bristols' own battalion in the Battle of the Somme. His grandson, Nick, has returned to the Somme to find out what happened to his grandfather and the battalion.
5th of March, 1916. I received your last parcel on the 26th, and a letter on the 28th, which I answered on March 1st. The post has been delayed somewhat. I am quite well, and as happy as can be expected. Of course, we are now amongst the fireworks again. For how long, I don't know. This was once a lovely large town, but now it is a shameful sight.
The Battle of the Somme began on July the 1st, 1916. After just one day, there were 60,000 British casualties. The battle raged through the long summer and autumn, as the Allies fought bitterly against the Germans for every yard of ground, every wood, and every village. On July the 20th, the Bristol zone went to the front line for what would be 10 tortuous days in the trenches. In a matter of days, a quarter of the battalion were killed or wounded. One of those casualties was Nick's grandfather. Nick checked the location of the Bristol zone trench at the village of Longueval. Using the map, he found exactly where his grandfather had fallen.
Looking at the trench map here, this doesn't look an awful lot. It's just a few trees and some brambles, but I find it quite difficult to talk, really. It's looking at the trench map, this is the British front line. It was known to Bristol zone as Duke Street. And it was here that I know that my grandfather was wounded. He was shot in the knee on July the 25th, 1916, and he went on to die of his wounds. And of course, Mr. Smallcombe was in these trenches as well. And I just can't express in words what it's like to stand here and know I'm walking in my grandfather's footsteps, some of the last he was to take in the world.
Murder, murder everywhere, gracious God. How can it be allowed? My comrades lay around
on the parapet, just in front, dead, discoloured, and oh God, so lonely. Some dear son of a weeping mother. How she must long to know where he is, but to see him laying cold and dead would break the heart of any parent. Death is reigning every few seconds, taking its horrible toll. One poor lad tries to rise, but utters a cry of pain as the shrapnel bites into his back. We drop again, and find ourselves lying by another poor lad who was killed 5 minutes ago. Into the trenches, those of us left. Word comes along.
Two men are crawling in. They come in. And to think that could have been my grandfather coming in from the battlefield. It's clearly written on the same day that he was wounded.
I feel very emotional standing by my grandfather's grave here in Boulogne. I remember my grandmother telling me that she didn't feel that my grandfather was here because in fact they just buried bodies anywhere. But from the research I've done, I've been able to find that this is a hospital grave, and we can tell with certainty that in fact he's buried here. And I certainly feel that standing here at this moment. I'm very lucky to be here.
One month after the death of Henry Fear, the survivors of the battalion, William Smallcombe amongst them, took part in a major attack near the village of Guillemont. Their objective was a small, almost insignificant copse, Wedge Wood. In his hotel room, Nick studied the trench maps and battle plans for one last time. He was due to meet military historian Michael Stedman, an authority on the Battle of the Somme. Together they would walk the landscape where the Bristol zone went over the top. Knowledge of the terrain would be crucial.
Michael, to me these are farmers' fields with woods in them, but I'm here trying to find out what happened to the 12th Gloucesters here. I wonder if you can give me some orientation, please.
The Bristols, when they assembled for this attack, were in the fields over here. They came up overnight and they would have been assembled in this field here in utter silence. They wouldn't have been able to see their objectives until the sun came up that day. The objective of their attack is over here, about 1.5 miles distance. And in the context of the Somme battles, this is a fantastic distance to travel in one day. The idea that you can actually achieve an objective 1.5 miles away was almost beyond credibility in the context of the Somme battles. So the Bristols' task that day was always going to be a very, very difficult one. The machine gun fire from the German troops was very, very severe that day. So as the men began to sweep forward across these fields here, initially I imagine they had considerable success. The German dugouts down here were captured, but as they began to get down into the valley there, all these features began to disappear. The woodland would have been shelled to shreds. It would have been almost imperceptible to them. Trying to see that woodland here today is no problem to us, even on a grey day like this. But to these men, in the heat, the smoke, the mist of battle, the idea of picking out this wood down here would have been very, very difficult. Disorientated, machine gun fire, and of course the closer they get to that wood, more and more of their men, their friends, their colleagues are falling.
So this must have been absolutely devastating for Bristol's own then.
I think that the casualties speak for themselves. I suspect the Bristols attacked with about 500 men that day. To talk in terms of 350 casualties, it is just devastation. I can't imagine how it was that men drove themselves forward over this sort of terrain almost without knowledge of where they were going. Just this determination to get on and get through fills me with admiration.
I've just been wandering in the fields, only for a few feet behind me there, and I find all sorts of bits and pieces. I found some of the remains of the shells, or I think they look like bits of shell heads that would have rained down on the 12th Gloucesters. I found bullets, or the remains of bullets, and lots of these lead balls. In fact, there's hundreds of them here. And I think most poignant of all, I think that this is a uniform button, British General Service button. It says made in Birmingham, and it's got a coat of arms on it. To think this could have belonged to one of Bristol's own. I'm actually standing in a very special place for the 12th Gloucesters. This was the final objective, the place that the remnants of the Bristol's own got to on that day in September. And it was particularly important to Will Smallcombe. In his little archive there's an account there. And I'd seen he'd written his initials, WS, by the words Wedgwood. And it wasn't until I came here that I realised that this must have been a very important place for him. And I guess it must have been to the last remnants of the battalion that hadn't been wiped out, that they actually got here to a little bit of safety for a while.
My darling parents, I am very pleased to say that I've been spared again to carry on in perfect health, having just come through another great stunt. Your prayers and mine have been answered, for through all this battle not a piece of metal even struck me. Not that I didn't get some near ones, because this paper will show one escape. A piece of shrapnel went right through my satchel, but missed my person. Bravo, Bristol! The battalion has come through with the highest honours, and you can all feel proud of the Bristol's own.
In the aftermath of the Battle of the Somme, Bristol's own was rebuilt with new recruits, many from the West Country. But the unit was not, could never be, the same as the one that had left England just 10 months before. Out of the original 1,000, over 200 lay dead and many more never recovered from their wounds. In less than 10 weeks, fewer than 1/3 of the battalion of which Bristol had been so proud remained at the front. It was the battlefield of the Somme that now claimed for its own many of Bristol's finest volunteers.
It's lovely to find this here. I can remember seeing pictures in the 1980s of this cross being erected, and as far as I remember, it replaced an original cross which was put here by one of the Bristol's own officers, and it actually in the inscription mentions the two places that we've been to, here at Longueval and at Guillemont, and also records the officers' NCOs and private soldiers of Bristol's own, one of which was my grandfather and the other of course was Mr. Smallcombe. Seems a very appropriate place to end my pilgrimage.